The research conducted by Faragid is a documentation of 700 voices, including 600 women surveyed across 14 provinces of Afghanistan, on the devastating impact of the Taliban's medieval theocracy 4 years after their takeover in August 2021. The report focuses on the gender extremism nexus and its approach, foreground the stories of women and men, and shows that it is not only expert analysts, but also Afghan women and men who see in their everyday, lived reality the centrality of a woman's subjugation in the Taliban's political project. The Taliban, like other extremist fundamentalist groups, used restricting women's rights as a political tool to control Afghan society and secure regime maintenance in Afghanistan's fractured field of power. Education as tool of indoctrination. On one side, Taliban has denied half the population, women and girls, the right to secondary and high education. On the other hand, the proliferating state-supported madrasa network and revised school curriculum has raised an alarm about the production of radical and violent Taliban cadres that will do harm within Afghanistan and outside. Indoctrination into the misogynist extremist ideology of the Taliban is not limited to boys and young men, but also girls and young women. According to the Taliban Ministry of Education, currently there are 22,972 madrasas in Afghanistan, with over 3 million students enrolled, which outnumber the 18,000 public and private schools in the country. Reports state that before the Taliban seized power in 2021, there were about 5,000 madrasas across Afghanistan. In the past 3 years, the Taliban have established 85 madrasas for every modern school they have built, with only 269 new modern schools built since 2021. Continued insecurity. 61% of our survey respondents said they did not feel safe in public or private spaces. 62% of our survey respondents said they had faced safety issues or threats in the public space since 2021. Despite a decrease in armed conflicts, widespread fear and insecurity prevail, especially among Afghan women, stemming from the loss of rights, economic hardship, the ban on girls' education, the pervasive surveillance, forced disappearances, arbitrary detentions, extrajudicial killings, family policing, and the terror of forced marriages to Taliban fighters. The culture of violence is further reinforced as negative masculinities are encouraged in an ecosystem where there is no protective government or institutional support to curb social violence. Economic distress and loss of support. The ban on women's employment has severely impacted families, particularly female-headed households. This has been compounded by the struggling Afghan economy, which faces international isolation, religiosity. 76% of respondents said they felt their community had become more religious since 2021. Many respondents, including women, expressed skepticism of the Taliban's use of religion to justify its policies. They argued that the group's actions are distortions of the Quran and that the leader lacked a deep understanding of Islam. The research also points out that the Taliban's rigid interpretation of pure Islam is used to debase women. The Taliban have tried to weaponize religion to justify their own oppressive rules and policies. Intersectional vulnerabilities. Ethnic and religious groups face heightened discrimination and persecution. Their religious and ethnic practices are constantly infringed upon. Also at risk of targeted violence and revenge attacks are individuals associated with the previous government and with the international community. Despite the Taliban's promises of amnesty, those at risk have to remain in hiding as they face threats to their lives by the Taliban regime, which prevents them from accessing job opportunities or medical and mental health resources. Resilience and resistance. Despite the fear anxiety, and despair, what is most striking in our field data is the resilience and resistance shown by women and girls in Afghanistan. Against huge challenges, Afghan girls are finding ways to push back against oppression and maintain hope for the future. While large-scale public protests have been suppressed, resistance has moved underground, using innovative methods like social media and online network. But despite their continued resilience, the crackdown on their rights continue to intensify, with no signs of any rollback in sight. Key recommendations for stakeholders. Muslim-majority countries must challenge Taliban's distortions of Islam by issuing joint religious statements, rejecting Taliban's misuse of Islamic law to justify gender apartheid, and utilizing the resources efforts of OIC, Independent Human Rights Commission, to engage with Afghan women. UN member states must integrate gender extremism in their global counter-terrorism policy. UN member states must use international accountability mechanisms such as CEDAW, ICG, ICC for holding the Taliban to account. UN member states must support UN treaties defining gender apartheid as a crime against humanity. The international community must continue providing flexible funding to Afghan women CSOs directly to sustain their operations despite shrinking aid and continue building women's resilience. At a time when Afghan women are risking their lives to stand up against the extremist Taliban regime, it is crucial for the international community to stand beside them and support Afghan women and civil society, not only through statements and declarations, but also by funding and access to key decision-making platforms.
You can access the full report and executive summary by visiting our website at www.faragir.org.